Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be She Never Reaches Out but Complains About My Communication and Consistency. So, this particular email is from a viewer. He broke up with his girlfriend about 3 months ago, and he got back in touch with a woman that he was dating before he became exclusive with his ex. Sounds like he's re upping one of his practice squad players. However, the second time around, he says she never reaches out at all, never calls him, never texts him, and he's just sticking with like once a week per date. They've been hooking up. And recently she complained about his communication and his consistency. So he thought, oh, I guess I should start contacting her more. And so he starts calling and texting her about every day basically. But he's noticed that sometimes she waits many hours to reply. Sometimes she doesn't reply right away, and it's not really going anywhere. So this is a good email when, especially if a woman's complaining and she makes no effort to reach out to you, you have to suspect that maybe she's reading the book The Rules or talking to some of these female dating coaches that have basically plagiarized my work and they don't really understand it. And then they're teaching women basically to act like men. And so you get situations like this where a girl's interested and she saw somebody on the internet says, well, the man's supposed to do 100% of the reaching out. He's got to do all the pursuing. You should never call or text him. And you end up dating somebody that's basically acting structured. But what he should be doing, he should be pushing back instead of trying to jump through his butt to please her, because obviously you guys that are really familiar with 3% Man know that anytime a guy does more than 20 to 30% of the pursuing, it gets in the way of her falling deeply head over heels in love, especially in this case where they've been hooking up for a few months again, and he's doing 100% of the reaching out and she doesn't do any of it. It's like he's driven to take action based upon his fear of potentially losing her, instead of pushing back and saying, well, how come you never make any effort to reach out to me? It's like, I'm always the one calling you. You never text, you never call, you never reach out. So if you're complaining about my consistency, it's like you got to make at least some level of effort because I'm the only one reaching out here. So if you want things to progress further, it's, it takes two to tango, sweetheart, and you're not really being a good dance partner. So he says, hi, Coach. First of all, thank you for your work and teachings. You've helped me in multiple ways to overcome a really hard part of my life. I've read 3% Man twice, and I'm planning to start my third. I got dumped with my girlfriend about 3 months ago. I waited about 6 weeks until I found your work, so I started dating. And now I have 3 potential partners, so to speak, but I'm struggling with one. The other thing you got to pay attention to is that the other girls are really easygoing, easy to get along with, and they're reaching out to you. You got to pay attention to that. Especially if the girl starts breaking your balls, like, oh, you don't ever call or text enough. It's like, you don't ever call or text me at all. It's like, hello. I dated this girl for 2 months 3 years ago before meeting my ex, and in that time, she only wanted to have fun and nothing serious. So that's why I chose my ex in that time. After being dumped, I texted this girl and she was happy to hear from me, and so I tried following the book. We saw each other once a week. I texted her 4 days to set the next date. I dated 2 more girls the other days, and in the second date with this girl, I invited her to cook dinner, and we had the indoor Olympics. It was like this for about 5 weeks. And between those dates, she would never contact me. So that's what a structured woman does. She's following a set of rules. But just the fact that she brings up the fact that he doesn't reach out enough or his communication is not consistent, it clearly bothers her, but yet she's not willing to do anything to co-create or contribute to a potential relationship. So if you hear something like this, there's a good chance she's reading a book like The Rules or talking to some female dating coach that's basically teaching women to act like men because they don't know what the hell they're doing. After 5 weeks of this, she gave me this talk about feeling used because I was disappearing after having sex, and she expected more consistency in communication. So I asked her, you want to talk like every day? I thought it was her way of saying, I want more of this. Well, again, if you have been a good student of the book, you got to understand that most women, normal, healthy, who are not structured, usually when you start sleeping together, they're going to reach out every couple of days just to send you a meme or say hello or say, hey. And that you use as an opportunity just to set the next date, because you assume if she's reaching out, she probably wants to see you more. So as soon as you hear something like that, you got to push back on that. You got to say, well, what do you mean? My consistency in communication. Oh, well, you don't reach out enough. You should call me more. It's like as soon as we have sex, I don't hear from you for a few days. Remember, whoever is asking the questions is the one running the conversation. That's right out of the book. And so if she says something like that, you say, well, quite frankly, we've been seeing each other for about 5 weeks and you have yet to call me or text me once. So you can't complain about my consistency in communication when you're making zero effort. You can't be a one-way J and expect me to do all the work. So if you want to talk more or if you want to hear from me more, is your phone broken? It's like, why haven't you reached out to me? Because I'd like to see you actually making an effort. And until I see you making a mutual effort, I don't really see things as changing. Because the last time we dated, you just seemed to be up for a booty call and you didn't want anything more than that. So remember, no one will ever do or say anything to you that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. So she's projecting. So when she complains about your consistency and communication, what she's really doing is she knows that deep down she hasn't been consistent and she hasn't communicated at all. She's making zero effort. It's nice that when he calls and texts her, she's happy to see him and they hook up, but it's clear that she's doing this on purpose and she's complaining about it, probably because some retard on the internet told her that the guy's got to do all the work. And so she's just following that like a script, like a robot. And I say this all the time. You want a girl who's easygoing, easy to get along with. She's nice to you. And this girl's not easygoing and easy to get along with. She's following a set of rules and then bitching about your effort when she makes no effort. So this is the type of situation where you got to check a girl and call her out on it. You don't just sit there and take it like a beat down dog and then start jumping through your butt trying to please her. Because as you'll see, he listens to what she says and then does what he's told, and you can tell it clearly is actually lowering her interest because he starts calling and texting more pretty much every day, and then it takes her a longer to reply. That shows that her interest is actually dropping. She's never going to fall in love if he's doing 100% of the reaching out. As a matter of fact, if he keeps doing this, eventually she's going to say there's no chemistry or no spark or she's not feeling it. He says, so I started texting and calling almost every day. I took vacations for 12 days, and I tried to text and call every day. It's just too much, dude. This is the opposite of what the book teaches. You're letting the woman run things. You're basically putting her in the position of being the man in the relationship. And when you do that, you're going to dry her up, and you're eventually going to get friend-zoned. Once I came back, we planned to see each other, and one day before the date, she got sciatica and wanted to cancel it. But she told me to go to her house instead, and we'll order something there. All this time, every time we see each other, we're having sex. I could say maybe she's the one craving sex more than me, but it seems she's not attaching emotionally. Well, because you're doing all the work, and you didn't call her out on it. You didn't put her in her place. You just basically turned into a clapping seal, and you did what you were told, which is obviously turning her off, even though you're doing what she says she wants. Women don't understand how attraction works. And the only reason she's telling you or complaining about consistency and communication is because deep down she knows she's not doing it. But probably some retard on the internet told her that the guy's got to do everything and the women do nothing. Which is basically teaching women to act like men and to make no effort, and you're going to get blown off and you're only going to get insecure guys that will do it. And then they're not going to really feel much for those guys. He says there's been 2 occasions where she didn't answer my phone calls after arranging an hour to do so and leaving text unreplied for hours. Okay, so they're supposed to talk at a certain time. He calls her when he's supposed to call her, and she doesn't pick up. That's clearly showing a lack of interest. Remember, dating's like tennis. You hit the ball over the net, and she's got to hit it back. So if you call her and you leave a message, or you agreed, like I guess he's probably talking about when he was on vacation, he was going to do a phone date or a digital, maybe a FaceTime date with her, and she wasn't even there. That's rude. It's disrespectful. It shows that she takes him for granted. And this is what happens when you put the woman in charge and you let her dictate the terms. It's a bad way to go. Again, this is laid out in the book, but you're doing the opposite of it. He says, I can see that maybe my mistake is trying to treat her like my ex in the sense of trying to text and have video calls every day to have that same intimacy I once had with my ex. Well, the only reason it gets to that point is typically when a woman falls in love, I mean, you can get away. If you're following what's in the book, typically 95 to 100% of the pursuing will be initiated by her. But obviously you're dealing with a structured woman that's acting like a robot, again, because somebody on the internet told her to do this. And she even said a few weeks ago, let's not put any pressure and let's see how this flows. So at the end of the day, her interest is just going to stay where it's at, and probably it's just slowly declining. She said she needed more communication, so he stepped up his communication. And what happens? On 2 occasions, they were supposed to talk, and she wasn't even there. In other words, she blew him off on purpose. And probably, again, that's what the rule says. You make dates and then cancel them or blow the guy off, and that'll hook him emotionally. So if I'm a betting man, I would say she's probably reading the book, the rules, and trying to follow it, and that's why she's behaving this way. And again, this is why you should date multiple women. And when a girl's behaving this way, and then you got other girls that are blowing your phone up, I'd be spending my time with the girls that are nice, that are flexible, that are treating you the way you want to be treated, and they're acting normal and natural, which this girl is holding back on purpose because of something she read or somebody she saw on the internet. So my question is, I was texting and arranging 1 date per week. She asked for more, and I gave her more. Seems like she likes it, but it didn't attract her more. Well, it's because you're doing the opposite of what the book says. So how do I back off to create that wondering and mystery without her accusing me of going back to using her? Well, I would just go back to what you were doing. Just call once per week. If she's used to hearing from you every day, just stop calling and text her and go spend time with these other girls. See if she reaches out. See if she's bothered. If you call her up the next week to set a date and she complains you haven't reached out, you say, okay, we've been dating almost 2 months again now. How come you have never reached out to me once? You don't make any effort. So I don't want to hear any more complaining about consistency and communication until I see you actually start making an effort, because this is not good enough. So if you're just not going to call me and you're not going to text me because you're following some set of rules or somebody heard on the internet, it's like, well, we're not going to see each other very often because it takes 2 to tango and you're not being a very good dance partner. So I need to see more consistency and communication from you. And then when I see that, then we'll see how things go. You need to take your power back because right now she's treating you like her interest is dropping and her interest is low. So again, this is a part of setting and enforcing healthy boundaries and also knowing the book. And when a woman says something that's ridiculous and unreasonable, like this woman is, you got to check her on it. You got to call her out on it and get her to change her behavior and treat you right. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the coaching tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and book a coaching session with yours truly. If you haven't already signed up for our exclusive premium members-only content, in the video description of this video, there are links to join on YouTube, or you can join on Spotify, or our website, understandingrelationships.com. Click the plans tab when you get there. You can do a 7-day free trial to check out all the great content you get for your money. And if you choose an annual plan, you can get a 25% discount at the end of the 7-day free trial. So go to understandingrelationships.com, click the plans tab, sign up for a free trial today. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.